it was really good. I mean, we'll get into it, but he was really interested in what we were doing.
Well, I'm sure he was interested because you made it interesting. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Usually it takes, you have to hit the press over the head to write.
Yeah, no. It was good.
Ready when you are, Scott.
Here we go.
Okay. All right, good evening. Today is May 27th, and this is the committee meeting for the Charter Review Committee. We are here at the Paxton Safety Complex. Time is 5:45, and I call this meeting to order. The first order of business is review and acceptance of the meeting minutes of April 28th. Now, you all have reviewed it and provided email approval. However, open meeting law dictates that we have to do it in an open meeting online meeting or quorum to accept the meeting minutes. So I'm calling for a vote. Can I have a motion to accept the April 28th meeting minutes?
Motion to accept them.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I therefore declare that the meeting minutes of April 28th, as prepared very well by our friend Mr. Paul, have been accepted. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, committee. Julia was invited. In fact, Julia is just walking in, so we're going to delay her update for a few minutes until she gets settled. Let's start with updates from the work stream. We'll start with 4 and go to 3. In a minute. All right, interview team updates. If you would be so kind, please, as to go to the second page on your packet. Chuck, can I ask that you hand Julia her packet?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jack.
Okay. This is a summary, as detailed as we could get, of the current committee, board, and commission interviews. That is the one remaining body of interviews we have yet to complete. We're at about 85% complete. We are hoping that we can complete the remaining by the end of June. That is our target. All right. One board we have met with is the planning board, and we still have no feedback from them. Supposedly feedback is coming post the town meeting on the 16th of June. We will see. The next 5 committees have all been contacted and connected, and we are going back and forth with the chairs and myself to find a date for these 5 committees to meet with us. Again, we hope that that will occur sometime in June. The last set are 5 commissions and committees which have not responded at all due to numerous attempts. That being said, Madam Chair.
I'm no longer the chair, believe it or not.
Of Select Board?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm the vice chair now.
Madam Liaison.
Very good.
Our position at this point is we will hope that these 5 that are not responding
Yep.
so by sometime in June.
Okay.
If they do not, this committee will take a position that we will approach them individually as residents trying to contact them to get their feedback.
Okay.
We will no longer chase this, there's a point of professionalism that we have to move on.
Sure.
Would agree?
I would agree. Yep.
I think the Scenic Byway Committee is done, based on Donna's notes to the org chart.
The Scenic Byway Committee is not done. We have not met with them.
No, I think,
No, done in terms of they don't no longer exist, I think is what he meant.
yes.
Oh,
So when Donna got Foster, she reviewed our org chart.
Yeah.
She said the Scenic Byway Committee was done in Crouch.
okay. Can you confirm that? Is it no longer in existence?
So my understanding is that they have not met for a number of years, because unfortunately, the deliverable from that committee, we couldn't find a location for it. So the committee itself, I don't believe, has been formally dissolved, but I don't believe they are meeting.
So did their terms expire? I mean,
I would have to look back, honestly, David, at the last select board appointments in May of last year to see if that committee was reappointed or not. It's possible that they were not,
okay. I haven't seen any minutes or,
right?
Yeah, there were no minutes, and in fact, Cultural Commission hasn't met since February, and before that, it was like September of the year before, so.
Right.
They're not meeting in any kind of cadence at all.
Yeah, and I think that there's also been a loss of membership from that particular commission as well.
Okay.
Steve?
What path do we need to follow to verify that the Scenic Byway Committee is dissolved and that is formally declared and taken off the website, et cetera?
Yep. I would check in with Donna Parsons and just find out if they were reappointed last May, if that committee was appointed.
All right. You were going to say, DJ?
Did we do the Board of Health?
Huh?
Did you do the Board of Health?
We did the Board of Health. All three of us did the Board of Health.
Okay,
Oh, yes. Yeah, you did the Board of Health.
okay.
I was there for that one.
As the chair of the Board
I
of
wanted
Health,
to-
she would know, and the three of us were there. All right.
I just wanted to make sure because that one went so smooth.
Oh, well, see,
Yeah,
good
okay.
answer.
Wait a minute, yeah. Your nose is a little brown.
Yeah, it's
All right.
gun grease.
All right. I'm going to skip down to, the other update I wanted to give you is the third distribution, a third page on your packet. We have sent out, or actually posted in town at 19 different locations. We have 11 remaining posters to distribute throughout the town. Your chair and vice chair are going to hop in a car on Friday morning and attempt to distribute the last 11. Our targets are going to be Anna Maria College, Robinson Nursery. We thought about the churches and the banks. We also have two other dentistry and a veterinary hospital that we can approach as well. That's what we're going to try to target to see what luck we've had. Surprisingly, every time we've knocked on the door, we've had nobody say no. Everybody has been very supportive,
That's great.
including Duncan, which I was quite honestly very surprised. I thought for sure they were going to quote some sort of corporate problem with posting. They did not. They had no problem whatsoever. Okay. Final thing from me. This morning, and I copied all of you, we sent, the committee, I sent on behalf of this committee, a letter to our state senator and state representative. I appreciate DJ's authorship of that, and Gary and I both provided editorial comment and updates and modifications, but I thought what ultimately went out was a very succinct and well-written letter to both the senator and our representative, requesting awareness and support for our initiative, our mission, and then also to act as strong advocate once the town that presents its new charter to the legislature for approval sometime in mid to late 2026. So we will await response from that. With that, I'll stop and ask any kind of questions for me regarding your packet.
Steve, I'd like to comment.
Yeah?
You know, one of the things that, some experience that I've had is that we ought to follow up with the representative and the senator, try to get a meeting with them. I think after they get the letter and after they have a time to read, but, you know, we should invite them into town. And part of that I say because, as you know, there's some pending, hopefully pending approval legislation that's going to come out of committee for the state to have money available that might possibly be used towards the highway department's building. And what better opportunity than for Travis to invite them to come look at the thing that's over there and show them the bathroom, I mean the Johnny or whatever we call it, and all that stuff. And at the same time, give them some, you know, FaceTime. Because, and no, I don't realize we have at least one elected person here, but not to say anything bad about it, but elected people like to have FaceTime with their constituents. So I suggest maybe we follow that up, if possible, or at least see where it goes. Invite them to a committee meeting or something.
Okay, we have that as part of our recorded minutes, and we will see what we can do and follow up. I'll await their response, and maybe that's our second, our next level of engagement with them.
And if we don't respond, we should, knock on their doors.
Okay. All right. Regarding, we're now on item B under 4. And the first one is summary of updates of one-on-one sessions with team regarding recommendations and observations. No summary to date. However, 4 of the 5 select board members, including newly appointed, have accepted their invitation to meet with me one-on-one to review the 3 materials mentioned here. Recommendations, observations, and a proposed org chart. The one that has not responded should be of no surprise, and that's Mr. Hewells. So I would ask Madam Liaison if we could help with that regard.
I am certain that I could. Yep.
All right, appreciate that very much. And that's going to be in the first half of July. All the meetings should be done by July 12th, or at the latest the 15th. And we will have significant feedback based upon that. You all, in one-on-one sessions with me, have reviewed the observations, recommendations. I have compiled that list. I would ask you one more time to take a look at what has been modified, compiled, etc., based on those conversations. And we will vote on those for approval for both of those documents at our next meeting, which is June 9th. Does anyone have any questions regarding what we just covered?
Are we voting just the concept, we're not voting language?
We're voting on the content as contained in those documents. And I will parse them up so they're reasonable to approach with a vote.
And they'll be in the same repository, so we go to where we went before.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're exactly in the same place. And by the way, I updated the communication work stream today as well. All right. Based upon what I've just shared with you. All right. David, can you give us an update on the new draft? On how things are going with the new draft on charter?
Well, I can tell you that I have created a synthesis from all of the 30-odd, 35, 38 now, charters that are in effect or underway, becoming in effect, hopefully, by the next legislature. And I've got something under every one of the articles that was on that first piece of paper that I sent out, the sort of the thing that looks like this that was posted. It has, basically the 12 areas, which are roughly translatable to articles in the charter. So, for instance, there is these are not published anywhere. They're not online. The only thing that's online, and that I think we need to, before we get in, as we talked about it last meeting, before we really get into the weeds on some of the things that do we say this, or how do we say it, or do not say that? I mean, there's some things that might be a little controversial, or might be a little something we don't want to do, or whatever. Or we'd be afraid of the select board if they knew about it. But the bottom line is, I used the preamble, which I initially gave out a couple of versions. And the most recent one that I did is one that I felt was necessary based upon some of the communication I received from primarily 2 people, but everybody participated. And I wrote, and I sent it out twice, although one time the older first version was not really the right version, but the second one's out. And it's too long. But I wasn't using any sort of number of words or anything like that. But I can tell you that the average charter has less than 100 words in it. And most of them have a lot less. But I think there is a need and an appropriate place for that whole thing with the lead yard bill and all that stuff to come in there. That might be something we could find and use. But I'd be interested in knowing if, your opinions are, because we gotta solidify a process, because when we get to these other areas of the various articles, possible recall, possible this, possible that, possible. The question becomes, well, how are we going to do that? And what I put in the document that I sent out just for you guys to look at, not to vote on or anything like that, was the idea that we have already established the 3 of us, Steve, myself, and Paul, as the drafting group. So we'll get together and fight it out. And I'll show you what I've got, and then Gary particularly will probably cut it to pieces, and we'll get to someplace so that then the next group can look at it, and then all together we'll get together and say, can we do this? Is this the preamble that we want in our proposed charter or revised charter, whatever? And once we figured out how that process works and we see how it works, then we can move on. I mean, Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3 are probably not going to be that controversial, but it's going to get really kind of, I mean, I don't like some of the language that's in there right now anyway, so. But the bottom line is, if we can work on this process, and maybe we can get it, as agenda item next meeting, is that we sit down as an item on our agenda and go through, what do we want for a preamble? And this is what's out there. Throw it on the table, and, But the thing that I did write, and I'm not, it certainly needs improvement. I did not write a finished project. And like I said originally, I said, you don't have to take what I put down as being something that I'm going to be offended by. I think it has a place. And the place I think it has is it could be a preface to what we use in our communication, because we're going to be going back to people. And we just had a meeting with someone talking about transparency again, and you know, it's a great word, but unless we show transparency, and I think the preface, we can have 300 words in it, or 4 pages. The preamble itself, which is part of the charter, the preamble will just be like a cover page, will be what we'll be talking about and showing to people and whatever, saying, look, this is where Paxton was, this was Paxton is, and, you know, hey, it's about time we did this. So that's just a suggestion, and if the
Okay.
people want to, you know, talk about that or discuss that, but
I believe that we've defined the process. In fact, you defined the process. The three of us should review the preamble and then present it to the other half
Yeah.
to see, you know, regarding modifications to language, et cetera. But I believe the first 3 of us should be,
so we should get that going.
all right. Gary, can you go over the Paxton Days schedule and coverage, please?
So, as of right now, we're covering a table from 10 to 3. I have Steve down from 10 to 11:30. I have Dave from 10:30 to 12 as an overlap. I have Paul from 12 to 1. Chuck from 12:30 to 2, if you're able to do that. I'm on from 1 to 2, and Megan and I are on from 2 to 3. So all 6 of us are in there from anywhere from 1 to 2 hours.
Okay, I thought I saw something coming from you that said I was 10 to 11, David was 11 to 12, somebody was 12 to 1, somebody
This
was...
is the current schedule that has been transmitted around.
All right, and are we all in agreement?
Yep.
Is there any dissenting vote? Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, it's finalized.
I'll give you my cell phone too, in case somebody has a last minute shift. You can just ask, I'll come up, whatever.
And I'll be around.
I'll make sure that our cell phones are shared with everybody. So that,
I can also point, you know, I probably have heard, I think I wrote it somewhere, I will be there with my wife, because we have a table that we always have at Paxton Days. And
Okay.
I've asked Donna, and she has agreed to put your table, or our table, the committee table, close to that. So I will be there all day, and, you know, that way, when Steve gets tired of shaking hands, I'll be able to walk over and, you know, so I'll be there, you know, all around the day.
we also talked about the possibility to create some sort of draw to get people to our table. We've talked about things like a trivia, kind of a trivia contest. We talked about a raffle. What else did we talk about?
I think,
Idea.
yeah, it was just a raffle idea, which if we can get like a gift certificate donated, we can look into that. I can track that down.
I was thinking if we could get either a trivia, obviously the trivia would be the trivia about the town. If we can get that and award a winner, one an hour, and get 5 prizes, donations, that might be something fun. That way we keep interest up with every hour that a new person sits down to cover the table, we have something. Madam Liaison, is there any issue with the town of us doing that?
Do we need a permit, I think is the question.
Raffles require permits.
Yeah, that's
You're
what I
right.
thought.
Yep.
All right, what about a trivia contest? Same thing?
Nope.
With the raffle, no money's changing hands, though.
Okay, so if there's no money changing hands, I don't know that you call it a raffle. I think you call it something else.
Like a door
Just a
prize.
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Because
right.
we're just, they would be giving us, answering a trivia.
Communication group. Why don't the 3 of us sit and talk about that? You guys come up with a couple of ideas.
All right.
And all of us, let's work on getting some donated pleasantries from the local people that we've reached out to, the businesses, et cetera. I think that might be a nice draw. In addition to just handing out, you know, speaking to people and shaking hands, but also, and handing out the newsletter, I think it'd be nice to draw them in. Attorney Goldberg, would you like to also share your idea that you shared with me, either was it yesterday or the day before, And my response, you may also share my response if you'd like.
So I had suggested that we potentially create a trifold, similar to what they use, all the kids who go to science fairs they use, and they put all their little displays up on the trifold, and the 3 sections would show the different parts of what we're trying to accomplish in the charter. One section, for example, may end up being, what is a charter, what have we done so far, and what are the things that we're, in general, what are the challenges that we're facing within the charter? For example, all the different inconsistencies or what's missing. Have that up there. That becomes the talking points for people when they come see it, they come to the table, they see something really out there and flashy for us to talk about. That's what I thought about. And I said, I don't want to put on any work on anybody, and you asked me if I was volunteering. So that's where the conversation ended.
I think Paul is really good with construction. I heard that at the last meeting.
So that was the thought, to try and draw people in, as well as using the same trifold for the town meeting, and then we can update it along the way as things change for any kind of place where we're out in public.
Could we get a trifold, rather than Paul constructing one? Paul's busy enough right now. We might want to check with the COA or school or library. I mean, one of them may have something that we could actually borrow for the day and bring back to them.
I have an easel. I mean, even if we did a poster board.
Perfect. All right, then what about, to Gary's point, I think it's an excellent idea. What about, then, what do we put on same easel? What kind of things, to his point about the 3, I think it's an excellent idea. Can we get a couple of volunteers to put that together? At least the content? Then we could also then ask Town Hall, Donna and/or Lori, to see what they could do about getting it created for us. Once created, we may also then be able to use it over and over again by just overlaying the next kind of, and the next time we use it, the same kind of thing, right? Just updates.
I do believe we already have the language that we want to use. Mm-hmm. We already have what we've defined as what is a charter and how it impacts us, number 1. 2, what we have done so far in terms of trying to be transparent. But the third part of the trifold, in my opinion, would be all those things that we believe that need to be addressed. So, for example, consistencies between various departments and governance, issues of bylaws. We just name them, so that way, if someone's walking by and they say, well, what do you mean by this? Then we have that level of conversation and see where they're at.
Like I said, I think it's a great idea. What can you say? All right. Can I ask you to draft the language for those 3 components, please?
Sure.
Thank you. You have the easel, Megan?
I do.
All right, and then we'll get some sort of, what about the board to put on the easel? What do we need?
I don't have that, but we could easily get it. Depends on how much content you have, but let's look at that first and see what size we need.
Okay, sounds good.
Because we could easily get a trifold too.
All right. Item 4, possible dates of finance and capital improvements. They are 2 of the committees that have not. We're still trying to coordinate dates, so I'm going to defer that to another meeting. 5, coverage for the town meeting on June 16th. Who on the committee is going to be at the town meeting at Anna Maria College at 7 p.m. on June 16th?
I think so.
You are not?
Me?
Yeah.
The time is uncertain. I'm traveling back from a meeting in Framingham. So
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm going to be there exactly at 7 or not. That's the question.
But you plan on attending one way or the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 5 of the 6 of us are attending. I cannot. I will be out of town beginning that day. and will not be back till the 23rd. And it's questionable as to what time I will get back, because I will be coming from Columbus, Ohio, due to a family engagement. So I don't know what time on the 23rd I will be arriving. Just FYI. All right, so it does sound like we have coverage. We should ask for no less than 200 copies of the newsletter for the town meeting. And I believe we would go through Donna, Julia,
Yes.
to secure, make sure we have a table outside of the auditorium where those flyers or the newsletters can be placed for people to pick up. And if we can't stand out there, fine. You know, encouraging people to pick it up. If not, you know, we'll also ask the town moderator to also include, to say something encouraging people to pick it up.
Could we put the trifold up there as well?
I wrote that down, yeah.
And put the trifold up there, I think that's a great idea.
Is the request for us to sit at the table prior to the town meeting? Is that, I just want to make sure that's clear. So like from 6 to 7, someone should man that?
Yeah, as
Yes.
people come in, you can
Yeah.
kind of,
Is 6 early enough? That's.
6 is plenty. 6, yeah.
Anna Maria, right?
I would tell you 6:15, 6:30.
Okay.
I have a question about the number, because as you know from that November fiasco, in many ways, they didn't have enough handouts. And I asked how many they had, and they said 150. So I'm not sure, I mean, is this meeting, is obviously the fact that it's being held at Anna Maria's theoretically means that we need to have a bigger space and we're going to have more people, but maybe not. But you can't, if you made 300 or 350 copies instead of 200, we'd have, at worst, some extras that we could use somewhere else, sometime else.
Well, my problem is, at that point in June, our May newsletter, in some ways, is almost going to be out of date. There's new updates that we would provide. So it's a balance between dispersing older information beyond that town meeting and doing so at the town meeting. If you think 300 is the number, believe me, Town Hall will produce as many as we ask them to produce.
I'll ask Donna her recommendation. I bet
Okay,
she
that's
knows.
fine.
We'll see. We'll go
That's
from
I mean, if we have the QR code as a hard copy there, even if we're out of flyers, if we have something that,
But we don't have any, we're not going to have anything online. They're only going to see it that
Well, no,
day.
but we can put posters, you know, we can make sure we have a poster or two on the
the
front of the
survey.
table or on the table for them to scan the QR code.
right.
Yeah, I'm just saying that this is a town meeting where we're trying to get people to understand what we're doing, and they were trying to get, we're not voting on anything that we're doing at this point, but at the town meeting, but the fact of the matter is, there was a lot of aggravation from people about that not having a handout, why they, you know, people had to give out handouts and pass them around and everything else. That was just very unprofessional.
Megan, did you have something?
I do. So we also talked about a slide at the opening of the town meeting, because we knew we couldn't present, but we wanted to share the QR code. Is that something we still are able to do, and should we pull that together?
I believe if we pass that on to the town clerk, Lori, she can make sure that it's part of the PowerPoint presentation and the first slide. And the poster probably could be used as that with the QR, you know, whatever, to at least be something that's on the screen as people walk in. I think that is what would be appropriate.
I can create that.
Excellent. Thank you, Chuck.
And the QR code would link to the survey, which also has a link to the newsletter at the top of it.
Perfect.
So if we did run out of newsletter, they would still have access to it.
They would still have access. Good. Excellent. All right, that concludes item B. Before we go to C, how about we go back to item 3? Can we get updates from the select board?
Certainly.
Okay.
So.
How is the interim TA search going?
So as far as the interim TA is concerned, we did post that on the MMA site in order to try to get some applicants. My understanding is there have been some applications received already, so that's great. We're going to leave it open a little bit longer. The chair of the board will decide when those resumes will be reviewed to try to bring people in for interviews if that's what he'd like to do. And we're hoping to be able to name an interim TA before the departure of our current TA so that we have time for there to be at least maybe a week of overlap so that, for continuity purposes. And so our current TA's contract is up on June 30th. So ideally before, the second or third week of June, we'd like to have somebody in place.
So the target would be, at the latest, would be the 23rd of June, which would
Yes.
then allow a week of transition and orientation.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about the fiscal 26 budget?
Well,
It's
hot topic, yeah. So we had a meeting last week, joint meeting with the Select Board and Finance, because as you know, the override unfortunately did not pass. And so we're looking now at where to cut essentially $1.1 million from the budget. Tough position to be in. As of the last meeting, where we were at is we recognized certain areas of the budget that cannot be cut, and what then the budget cuts would need to be to the remaining areas in order to produce a balanced budget, which resulted in 18.25% cuts to those areas. That unfortunately is a large amount and would result in a reduction in services to our residents that are fairly significant. If you watched that meeting, you would see that would eliminate overnight police coverage. It would reduce the library to a place where they would, again, be concerned about their certification. It would make it so that there were gaps in ambulance coverage. And it would be eliminating or reducing hours at the town hall in terms of how often they're open and what hours the people up there could actually work. So that's a brief summary of what the cuts were. There would also be there are some losses through attrition. There would be one DPW individual who, and this is a fairly small staff, right? So one person is a big percentage of their labor force. There's one who left and his position would not be replaced. And I believe there was still one police officer who would not be able to be replaced. So tough, really tough situation to be in. So the debate last week and going into tonight, that'll be the next meeting if anybody wants to stay, will be, how did these cuts get administered? Do you just blanket the 18.25%, or do you try to move things back and forth and restore as much service as possible to the town, understanding that when you restore service in one place, you're taking it from another? So really difficult discussion that I'm sure we'll have tonight. I'm hoping that there will be a lot of ideas exchanged and it'll be a productive meeting. But we do have meetings scheduled as well for tomorrow and the next day, just in case if we aren't able to get there tonight. Of course, we have a deadline that we have to meet because town meeting is June 16th. We need to have that posted at least 7 days in advance, and we also need time for the warrants to go out to print prior to posting. And so we have June 1st set as our soft deadline, and today's May 27th, so it's not long before we need to be.
June 1 is Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Update?
I have a question.
Sure.
So we're in the process of revising the charter, which could have a direct impact upon the overall responsibilities of any kind of town manager or administrator,
Right?
including an interim, potentially. I'm assuming it may not have a direct impact upon the interim, knowing that by the time that we're done with what we have to do, it'll be 2026. how do you, though, play that out in terms of conversation with candidates as to, well, we're hiring you for this, but that may change based upon what may occur?
Yeah, well, I think you need to be upfront with people, right? So I'd like to maintain a dialogue between this committee and the select board on that front as well, so that the select board's view or vision of what a new town administrator's role will be is also what we're seeing in the charter, so that the two are compatible. But I do think that if we are to hire a full-time town administrator before then, and I say if, mostly because I think there's a good possibility that we're going to have an interim for a while. I don't think that there's a lot of town administrator candidates out there right now. There's a lot of towns that have recently turned over. And so we may find that we need to keep an interim in place for a period of time. That said, I do think that once we have the charter in place, or once we're hiring a town administrator, depending on which one comes first, you're going to need to be upfront with them to say, hey, just so you know, we do have this charter revision being undertaken, and and maybe they might have some input as well.
Would you consider at any time, whether it be the interim or permanent position, interview process, that a member of this committee take part in that?
I can certainly express that to the chair. I think it will be the chair's purview to decide how the interview process will take place, but I think what we were considering up until this point was to hire a search firm to help us with this. The search firm would do initial interviews, and then they would pass along 3 candidates to the select board. And once that part is done, the interviews at the select board level would be done in open session, and so anybody could be there for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Gary, did your question get answered? All right. Anybody else have any questions for Julia? All right. Going back to item 4, updates from communication work stream. Newsletter for town meeting, we already discussed. Suggestion box, anything, update from you, Paul, on how that's going?
I did find some wood in the garage that I think will be suitable, and I am working. Work will start shortly.
Excellent. All right. Letters to the editor, Paxton News is complete. Megan, you want to cover the Worcester Telegram and Gazette?
Sure.
Letters to the editor?
Oh, yes, so,
You and I discussed this?
yeah, we did. Sorry, trying to multitask. So when we met with Ken, the suggestion was that for letters to the editor, that all of us actually write one from us as a member of the charter committee, instead of one to go to all of them. Because typically the papers will print not the same one in multiple publications, they'll print various ones. So if we all provide one, then they'll submit it. I can put together a schedule to say, hey, can we all cover these papers, and just write a little overview that say, hey, I support this is what I'm doing. I'm hoping the rest of the town will listen in and participate in what we've got to say. But it can be short, and I'll get the word requirements. It's extremely small. It's not as big as the newsletter, and so when he looked at it, he's like, newsletter is definitely too long for a letter to the editor. However, if we each do a little blurb about our opinion, then he'll print them. So I can take the TNG to start, and then we'll circulate from there the next piece.
Sounds good. All right. The final entry under 4C, Ken Cleveland interview. I can speak that we, in my opinion, it went extremely well. He was very engaged, very interested, and actually very alerted and aware of what was going on. He has his ear to the ground, and he knows exactly all the work we're doing. He's taken the time to even watch videos and really surprise himself with what's going on. He said that he felt that under Landmark it was going to be published sometime early June. Mm-hmm. Paxton News also said that they would publish an article on us also in June, so we can look for those two things. And the third was the Worcester Telegram and Gazette that Megan just covered. Mm-hmm. So Anything you want to add, Megan, about Ken Cleveland?
No, not on those. It was pretty thorough. We sat with him for about an hour,
Yeah,
at
we
least,
did.
which was great. We had a couple other communication ideas. I don't know if those belong here or if they belong in new business, but,
We're gonna put them under new business.
okay.
All right. Speaking of which, item 5, new business.
Yeah.
Re-upping for the committee, as I understand it from Donna, all 6 of us have re-upped for fiscal year 2026. No one has said, no, they don't want to continue. Thank you very much for doing so. Our June scheduled meetings are June 9th and the 23rd. I've also shared with you on the 23rd, I may have a difficult time getting back in time. I will make every effort to be back here on time. But I may need to ask that either David or Megan kind of take charge, and I'll get here as soon as I can for the 23rd.
Well, if Dave's put in charge, you're going to have to expand the time of the meeting allotment.
I think 3 hours would be good.
Or we could,
Okay.
And we can sell tickets, invite the press, television.
Yeah, that might be when you want to invite the senator and representative.
we could bring
Okay.
refreshments.
5C, we're coming up on the time of year when we need to address again an election for the chair, vice chair, and secretary. Did you forget your glasses?
I did.
Yeah, okay. I know the sign of playing trombone. I was suggesting the 23rd, but the more I'm thinking about it, would it be better, since we all are confirmed for the 9th to be here, that we actually do the nominations and vote for the new officers starting July 1 on the 9th of June? Would that make sense to everybody? Sure.
Works.
Anybody have an objection to that? Okay, all right, the 9th it is.
You could do it today.
5 miscellaneous. Megan, covering additional items that you wanted to cover for committee, communication.
Okay, sure. Communications, and I have one for you, Dave, for the preamble. We talked about adding to the charter a glossary, and I think a couple terms to add to that glossary would be that recall and defining what that means, and also strong chief. I know we talked about that. It's everywhere in the observations and recommendations. I'd love for in the charter we define what those are. Take a look at what I sent over. Oh, I probably just sent it to you, though. For the observations and recommendations, the overview after we met, there's a couple things I think should go in that glossary.
Okay, and I
I
can
can
share
send
that.
them to you.
I can
Please.
share that.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I can share that with Dave.
I'd rather get it direct from me.
I'm sure you would. All right, anything else?
Yeah, so for the communication, we had a couple of ideas that I'm tracking down, is holding an event at the asylum with, to invite the public to sort of an open meeting with us, just similar to what we're doing with the coffee hour, but hopefully attracting a different audience. So working on some dates for that, too, like a meet and greet, what's happening. We can bring our trifold, we can bring our suggestion box. But I just thought it would be a fun, very low-key, easy way to share what we're doing to a vast majority of people that tend to attend that space.
And we're talking about serving food and liquid refreshments, which we hope will enhance the draw of crowd.
Did you say liquor?
Yes.
You said liquor?
There is a bar at the asylum, yes,
Is it going to be
for
open?
those that wish to partake.
We also talked about, and Julia, you may find this of interest, inviting the chairs of committees to participate who have openings, and actually have them come and talk to people and try to, shall we say, share their committee's mission,
Yes.
and hopefully do a little soft sell of recruiting to fill those open positions.
Otherwise, we're going to just get a hat, put everybody's residence in, and we're going to pick them, and you're on this committee, you're on that committee.
Yeah, we'll have a formalized agenda as we get closer to it, but I think those are some of the thoughts that we would bring up.
Right, and we were talking, was that July we were talking?
I think, yeah, in the summer.
Yeah, summer. Okay, all right.
And then the only other idea that I thought of, after our meeting, we can talk about it or table it to another time, but it could be cool to involve the PCS students in this charter, because it might actually bridge to their parents as well, who are residents of this town. I know they do quite a bit, I think it's 8th grade, I don't remember which grade it was, where they do a lot with the history of Paxton. It could be an interesting part to plug, what do you think should go into a charter? And invite somebody from this committee to talk to the class about, we're actually in the middle of this, and you could be a piece of this. So, just something to think
I think it's an
about.
excellent idea. There is no age limit relative to committee participation, is there?
I think most committees you have to be a voter, but there's no reason they can't provide their input.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
was gonna say, they could be in an advisory capacity.
They could. But
Right.
they all have parents and grandparents that we know probably
There we
live
go.
here that would be interested in what they're doing.
All right, sounds good.
We need some handouts for them to,
Yeah. All right. I have one too. Based on some recent conversations, another vehicle that we may want to add to our communication strategy is a survey going out to the general public, 1 or 2 questions that we may think are, I don't want to use the word controversial, but recommendations that might drive a very passionate response, one way or the other, and get a pulse. And again, 1, 2, max 3 questions. The longer the questions, the less people you're going to get to engage, right? And we could put a link or something on the website, even on the home page, to say, hey, we would, the officials of this town and the Charter Revision Committee would like to hear from you. Take this short survey, and tell us what you think. So I'd like to plant that as an idea for you to think about, and we can discuss at our next meeting on the 9th. All right. Anything else under new business?
Steve, can I suggest that as one of these communication things, I mean, we have a town TV channel, 3 TV channels. We should have some sort of presence on that, even if it's just like a 30-second, Steve getting up and saying what a charter is, and Gary getting up and saying, don't go to a meeting if Dave Johnson's in charge of it because they'll list 3 hours.
All right. Can I suggest that as a great idea? Let's add that. And did I hear you volunteer, DJ, to reach out to Nick P. and make that happen?
I'd like to reach out to Nick, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate your volunteering for that. All right. Do we have any old business, as we have about 5 minutes before we call? All right. Hearing none. Public session. We have 2 people in the crowd here. Mr. Wenzel.
I just wanted to apologize, Steve. I got your email last week. I was away all week, so I'll get back to you on the Bay Path meeting. So you're not being ignored. I got to track down Peter Scher. We got to find a date. So
Not a problem. Did you want to add anything else?
no.
Okay.
I just hope that any of those controversial items I didn't provide.
Items that may draw a passionate response, is the term I used.
I'm just here for the meeting. Was it set at 7 to
Finance?
Yeah, what the budgets?
Yes.
Yeah, 7 o'clock? Okay, all right.
This early.
Mr. Goldberg.
Is there any update you want to share regarding efforts to contact the archivist?
I will ask David to share, well, I'll tell you what, I will,
Yeah,
for brevity.
I object.
The archivist that we reached out, and David reached out to the archivist at the state level and asked, could he provide verification that the 2013 charter, Paxton Charter, as provided by Special Acts, was in effect in the archives. He did, after a few days, the archivist did respond and said, I repeat, stated unequivocally, there is no Paxton charter on record in the State House. None.
Which means we don't have, or we don't have legal
That
one,
was
right?
like a home, there's no home rule charter, so that's a little bit different than saying a charter period, right? There's no
Right.
home rule charter. What we have is a legislative charter, so slightly different, yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, what the archivist basically said was that you have a special act talking about formal government. It doesn't, if it's going to be a charter, it's got to say charter,
Yeah.
and it's got to have certain elements, of which what we have now is missing at least 52.
Okay. Anything else? Chuck, do we have anybody online, or Scott, do we have anybody online that's asking us any questions?
Nope, no questions. 4 people online.
Okay.
No chat questions.
All right, with that, I call for a motion. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I officially declare the meeting of the Charter Review Committee adjourned. Thank you.